Okay, we're finishing up this book here, The Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease, Stroke and Heart Attack by Peter Rogers. We're going to go through the dietary 20 commandments, and there's just a few other little slides, but this is sort of just the closing part of the book. Thou shalt not eat meat. We talked about why, because it's high in saturated fat. It's got different amino acid composition that increases your risk of disease, raises your blood cholesterol, it activates mTOR, all the bad stuff. No dairy. Dairy's a disaster. Makes you constipated, increases the risk of leaky gut, prostate cancer, etc., breast cancer. Nowadays, it almost always has high estrogen levels in it. Thou shalt not eat ultra-processed foods or artificial sweeteners. They make you sick. For a lot of reasons. Okay, thou shalt not eat fried foods. They're all disaster bad. And when I say don't eat it, I mean don't ever eat it. Basically, it's like an alcoholic. You don't drink on the weekends. You don't ever drink again. Look, you can do whatever you want. I guarantee you, there are thousands of doctors that want to drug you and chop you up. And they will have great fun drugging you and chopping you up. But if you want to avoid getting drugged and chopped up, this is the best option that there is. Okay, don't eat any food with oil in it, not one drop. Don't drink caffeine. Okay, it just raises the same hormones as stress. Everybody says, I wish I wasn't so stressed out. Well, then why stress yourself out with caffeine? Thou shalt not add dressing to thine salad. Yeah, they're all bad for you. Typically contain oil. Thou shalt eat only organic food. So you avoid the glyphosate, the atrazine, for example, and the other things they stick in there. Thou shalt eat only single ingredient foods, because if there's more than one ingredient, they can put stuff in it like MSG, MFG. Thou shalt filter thine water. Yeah, at a minimum, carbon filter to get rid of the estrogenics and the chlorine, but preferentially, preferably, you'd like to get rid of the fluoride and the aluminum as well, so you need reverse osmosis for that. You can do it with distilled, but distilled, kind of a pain in the butt, more expensive, more time consuming. Thou shalt minimize dietary protein. That helps protect your kidneys. It's thought to increase longevity, less activation of mTOR. That's less of a priority. It's more of a priority if you got cancer, though. Thou shalt exercise every day, at least a little bit. Do something you like. Walk, go upstairs, something. Thou shalt eat veggies at the beginning of the meal. That helps you to optimize your body weight if you eat your veggies first. It's also kind of convenient. Okay, next one is thou shalt eat only starches, fruits and veggies. Those are only basic food groups you need. That includes the grains and the beans, the starch category. And you satisfy your hunger, especially with starches, and then also with fruit to a lesser extent. But fruit tastes great, but it's a little bit more difficult to store. It doesn't satisfy hunger quite as well as starches. Eventually, if you're 100% vegan for a while, you're going to need to take vitamin B12. I like methylcobalamin version. You should practice one of the major religions. People in the major religions are all a lot healthier. Atheists, are a bunch of loser screw-ups. They stink, okay? They do so many bad things. They're like the major force of evil in the world. And they make you weak. You lose your resilience. If you say to yourself, atheism says life is meaningless. Okay, well, if you say to yourself life is meaningless, you're going to be less able to endure the difficult times we all go through that are inevitable. 17, okay, next one, number 18, thou shalt try to get the adequate sleep every night. And that usually means go to bed earlier. There's a bunch of other things you can do. I got entire lectures on that, but getting yourself to bed earlier usually tends to be the rate limiting step. And what I really like to do too is I try to exercise every day with some intensity. Because I know if I exercise at least, just even if it's only for 10 minutes with intensity, I sleep a lot better. Thou shalt get some sunshine to maintain vitamin D levels and for other benefits. Thou shalt manage thine stress. Have a strong sense of purpose in life. If you say, I am going to try to do this, whatever. Be the best coach in my league, the best coach in my division, the best teacher in my category. Just having some goal that is good. I'm going to be the best parent. Whatever it is. You live your life with more purpose, and it makes you a more effective person. It makes you more attractive to the other sex, too. Because that's what women said. They said, I've heard this one, I watch all these dating coaches. One dating coach says the difference between an alpha male and a beta male is alpha male has a strong sense of purpose. They can also mean a lot of other things by an alpha male, but a strong sense of purpose is one of the characteristics. And women like that. They like a guy who knows that he's going somewhere with his life. He's not just sort of a mope watching TV. Okay, I got a little bit more pages here. This is just showing all the good things that happen to your brain when you exercise. You get angiogenesis, new blood vessels growing into your brain to supply the areas that are active. You get neurogenesis, development of new neurons, development of new synapses, synaptogenesis. You release more BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic growth factor. So bottom line is it makes you smarter to exercise. Okay, you know, sea squirt, juvenile part of its life cycle, it swims around like a tadpole, it has a brain. As an adult, it just attaches to a rock, becomes a filter feeder, and its brain is totally resorbed. So if you just sit on the couch with a remote watching TV, you don't need a brain. So the body's use it or lose it. So exercise and you will do so much better. Okay, we just call it the Spartan vegan diet because it's Spartan, and like I was a wrestler, and it's sparse and cheap. Here's the basic food pyramid. These are the social things you do to improve your health. Getting your sunshine is important, of course. Starches are the most common food you eat for calories, then fruits, then veggies, and then you'll have to take a little bit of B12. It's pretty simple. That's what works. It's not the most fancy diet in the world, but you know what? That's the best thing in the world for keeping your arteries open. This is just the same thing with in the food plate description here. And this shows what it comes down to. Eat low-fat, low-sodium vegan, 100% organic, whole foods. Your risk of all the common diseases is minimal, like next to zero for type 2 diabetes, hypertension, heart attack, very, very low for stroke, very low for these other problems as well. It's like, why wouldn't you want that? You know, the East Asian, Japanese, Korean diet was actually really good. You know, they ate tons of white rice, like 80% to 90% of white rice, the rest fruits and vegetables. What got them in trouble is they were smoking cigarettes like chimneys, and they were also eating high sodium, 12 to 14 grams a day. So that's why they had problems in hypertension and stroke. But the diet itself was pretty good. The Indian diet, you know, tastes really good, but the problem for them is they ate way too much fried food. Some of them are also pretty high in sodium, and they do have a little bit of dairy, you know, like yogurt and ghee. But it's the fried food was the main thing that was getting them into trouble with their health. And the bottom line is you want to be like Adam and Eve, but, you know, keep your indoor heating and plumbing. Simple. Genesis, you know, 129, all these plant foods shall be food for you. Okay, I can tell you, McDougall used to recommend for his patients, the sort of middle-aged and older patients, eat 90% of your calories from starch, 5% each from fruits and veggies. I actually eat about 35% of my calories from fruits. That's supposed to be fruits. The rest from starches, then a little bit from veggies, about 5% of calories from veggies. You can see tons of videos. You know, the best thing on my YouTube channel is all the playlists. I got really good long lectures at VegSource. VegSource has tons of other great lectures. McDougall's channel's got a lot of good lectures, a lot of good stuff at Be Green with Amy, some of these other channels, Plant-Based Diet, Vegan Society of Hawaii, some good stuff about neuro at Josh Hellman's channel, and there's other real good channels. Those are just some of the good ones. Here's this book and all my other books. They're all available at Amazon.com. Food, Mood, and IQ, The Medical Reformation, Holy Grail of Wisdom Quotes, The Best Christian Art Book. It's the best one ever made. It's beautiful. That's the book people mostly like. Like anybody I run into loves this book. They're ecstatic about that book. Best Christian Songs, I just did that because they're taking them off the internet, so I wanted to keep them. This is a summary of all of Dr. John McDougall's work, and it's indexed because, you know, he's the greatest doctor in the world. I wanted to become the greatest doctor in the world, so I had to study all his work, and it's very useful stuff. All these books are available at Amazon. Here is The Underground Guide to Study Skills. This is the best one for like junior high and high school student. It gets right to the point. It's really good for college and grad school too. A little more advanced book, Straight A at Stanford on to Harvard. That's kind of like how do you navigate pre-med and med school as well. Top 50 books in health and nutrition. That's how the best books I read to learn all this stuff about health and nutrition. All the stuff that you can't find in conventional nutrition, but it's valuable. Prevent and reverse diabetes, prevent and reverse hypertension, prevent and reverse obesity. So anyways, hope you find it helpful.